G'day everyone, welcome back to the channel. So in today's video, I want to show you guys the most effective way that I've seen to use a foam roller to free up an ITB. And along the way, I want to clear up a common misconception surrounding the ITB and our ability to improve how it functions, which can have some really huge ramifications for all the ITB stretches and all the foam rolling that we do to that ITB. And I want to frame it in a way because I guess this particular way that I'll show you guys is a really powerful way to make immediate changes in that area, to see some immediate gains post-exercise, particularly if you're having some ITB pain or just some general knee pain or even some hip dysfunction, depending on what's going on with you. Now, one of the things that I want to sort of talk about to begin with is most people understand the ITB in that it's a band of connective tissue that runs from the hip itself down the side of the thigh into the knee. But the issue that we see a lot is that you can't actually stretch or mobilize the ITB itself, or at least not in the way that we often think that we can by stretching it and foam rolling it, because the ITB is such a robust piece of connective tissue that it connects those two areas, but at the same time it sort of inserts into that lateral thigh bone, creating a stabilizing support system for the quads and the hamstrings at the side of the leg. Now, the interesting thing about this misconception in that we can't stretch it or mobilize that ITB, what we need to focus on instead are trying to stretch and mobilize the tissues that attach into the ITB, so we can feed some slack into that band of tissue and restore normal motion and normal loading and normal support to that area. So the main areas that we actually need to focus on when trying to mobilize the ITB isn't the ITB, it's actually the outer quadriceps as they attach into the ITB and the outer hamstrings as they attach into the ITB. And it's these areas that become sort of bound down and tight and thickened and restricted and tender and sensitive that tend to cause a lot of the symptoms in the area that we're trying so hard to stretch and mobilize, particularly with a foam roller. So one of the things I guess I want to clear up here is that the traditional exercise that we see with foam rolling is that we often have the foam roller on the side of the leg where the ITB is, and we just tend to roll up and down on that area until we get sick of it or until we maybe feel like we've made some change. Now, as I've just said, the important thing to understand here is that it may not necessarily make the kind of change that we're hoping unless we target those hamstrings and those quads in different areas. So the way we want to go for this is, once we're on that ITB, we want to roll backwards a fraction, so back towards the posterior region of that thigh where those hamstrings reside. We want to focus on this particular area. And once you've done that, we want to roll over the top of that ITB, more so towards where the quadriceps attach in. And we want to go hunting for those connections as well. And again, we don't want you to roll up and down because it's not the best use of your time. There's better ways to do this. So the best way that I've seen to do this, the most effective way to use a foam roller is, again, we'll start with the hamstring. So if you start on the side, roll back a little bit, move it around until you feel like you hit something that feels a little bit tight and tender. What we want to actually do here is we want to incorporate movements to shear free that tissue. So once I've found a tight spot here with my knee bent, my bottom knee bent, I want to straighten out that leg and shear free that hamstring as it connects into that ITB. So as I'm straightening my leg, I'm lengthening that hamstring whilst it's being compressed between my thigh bone and the roller itself. And this is a really sort of impactful and effective way to free up any of these sort of tightnesses and restrictions, excuse me, that we see around that ITB. Now, one of the main things to consider when you do this exercise, and a lot of people will know this, is that it can really hurt. It can feel really tender and really sensitive to do. So if you're doing this and you can't hold a conversation, if you can't breathe, and if you can't have a laugh at the same time, then it's really important to ease off a little bit, because the idea of this particular exercise is we're trying to free up restricted tissue. And if your body feels on edge or it's very tense because it's so tender, then your body's not going to, or your nervous system isn't going to give your body permission to let go. It's going to stay tight and bound down. It's not necessarily going to allow you to make the kind of change that you want to make by doing this exercise. So when you're on that hamstring area, again, you can move up and down depending on how high you need to go, but I'd highly encourage you to use movement to shear that tissue free. Now, as we move across to the quads, so this is often where most of the tenderness is for a lot of people. So for me, I'm on the ITB, I want to roll over a little bit more, so I'm onto the quad area, and then I want to bend that knee as far as I feel comfortable. Normally I'd have my leg up here and then give myself a little bit more range to work with, but it sort of blocks the view a little bit. So it's going to be a little bit awkward here, but the idea is you want to bend that knee, shearing that tissue free, making sure that you don't feel like it's too tender or too uncomfortable to do. So your body gives it permission to free up. So again, the most effective way that I've seen to use a foam roller for an ITB isn't actually to roll around on that tissue. And it's also not effective to roll around on the ITB. So I guess the entire title of foam rolling in ITB is fundamentally incorrect in a lot of ways. So technically we should be shearing free the tissues that attach into that ITB, feeding slack back into that area to restore normal function to the ITB, the hamstrings, the quads, the knee and the hip, depending on where you need that sort of extra input in the system. So hopefully that was a useful piece of information. I highly recommend that technique, the shearing free technique. Like everything we do on the channel, make sure that you have a test and a retest before and after you do the exercise so you can gauge the amount of change that you make. Because if you're investing some time into doing the exercise, you deserve to see genuine change straight away. If you're not, then you maybe have been missing something that you didn't have to miss. So as always, if you enjoyed the video, if you enjoy this information, please consider leaving a like below and let me know in the comments below how your ITB is going. If you have any suggestions for other exercises that you'd like a little bit of clarification on, or at least to hear my thoughts on how to optimize that for more effective results to help you pain and function, then please let us know in the comments below. And if you are a fan of this kind of content, if you're enjoying what we're putting out, then please consider leaving a like below and subscribing to the channel, just so you can be notified when we post new exercises and new video ideas. So it really helps the channel grow, really helps support us. It helps this information get out to more people, which ultimately is the end goal. We want to clear up a lot of misconceptions and improve the way that we sort of understand the things that we're doing, and hopefully throw in a few hidden exercises or some hidden sort of concepts that a lot of people aren't aware of. So with that being said, thanks for joining us, and I'll see you in the next one.